celebrating my 53rd birthday this month, reflecting on the past year, my journey for joy. I open my journal and look back at my past year on paper. And what I discover that even though I am on this joy journey, I still complain and stumble. I let turmoil, the hard situations, and people's opinions steal the joy right out of the journey. I see myself so much like the Israelites, circling around and around in the desert when the promised land is so close. I circle around and around with my tribe of negativity when all the while God's promised land, my promised land, the gifts of the Spirit are within me. I long for this promised land where love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, and faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control abide and fill my soul. The journey of my heart out of the desert relies on me having the courage to first surrender my will to God's. And doesn't God tell me in the verse, the one I memorized to deal with fear from the book of Joshua, "Be strong and courageous, do not be cowardly or fearful, for the Lord your God is with you in all things wherever you go." Joshua 1:9. God tells this to Joshua when he is preparing to cross into the promised land. But you see, I am a follower of God's, but I'm also a stubborn child who wants to do things my own way. And God will let me. He gives me free will. He will not push his will on me. So God watches as I stumble, just like the Israelites, wanting things my way. And doesn't God always patiently help us in our journey through the desert? When I cry out that a circumstance is too much for me, and I lay at his feet, tears streaming down and body tired, does he not send me manna and birds from the sky, and bring forth water for me to drink, to strengthen me? And does he not lift me up so I'm able to continue? But what God ultimately wants for us is so much more. The promised land. Trust in God's will and inherit the promised land. But there are giants in that promised land. Didn't God have the Israelites' backs when it came to those giants? And I think, what if I'm not strong enough to face giants and destroy them? There is fear in having faith to trust God. I do believe in God and his goodness. Oh Lord, help my unbelief. What I realize is that the perceived giants have been with me the whole time in the wilderness. They're my tribe. You know, anger, bitterness, fear, anxiety, hate. Crossing over to the promised land means I will have to face them and destroy these perceived giants. I say perceived giants because they only become giants when I believe the lie that I cannot overcome them. Living with them is one thing. They seem small, insignificant. But overcoming them, eradicating them from my life, they take on strength and largeness that seems too much for me. I cannot believe this lie. I can overcome them. God has my back. Let go. But how? How do I let go and trust God and not let the lies enter my heart and mind? That's where I get tripped up. Perhaps the answer is in Paul's letter to the Ephesians. Paul tells us, take up the whole armor of God, having girded your waist with truth, having put on the breastplate of righteousness, and having shod your feet with the gospel of peace. Above all, taking the shield of faith, which you will be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked one, and take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God. When I look at these words of Paul to the Ephesians, to me, it appears so simple. What I notice is that act of putting on the armor of God depends on me. God supplies the armor. I must put it on. In orthodoxy, man's cooperation with God in his spiritual battle for the promised land is referred to as synergy. God gives us what we need, but we must choose to accept his awesome help and work with him. Again, I remind myself, God will not usurp my will. I must give it freely, placing my heart in his holy hands and gather strength from him. But I must practice putting on the armor every day on my joy journey to the promised land where the fruits of the Spirit are abundant. Isn't it amazing how when I resolve to face the giants in my life, one of them will come upon me, sideswiping me, testing to see if I have the wherewithal to put my theology into action. I know that this is the time to test my use of the armor, to use it instead of talking about it. So if my belt of truth slips and a lie tries to slip in, I gird that belt back up. And if my breastplate of righteousness goes wonky, leaving me exposed to the enemy, I straighten it. If my sword of the Spirit or the shield of faith should slip from my hand, or my helmet of salvation falls to the ground, I need to pick them up and hold on tight, because they are needed to take on the giant before me. And finally, if the evil one should step on my heel and give me a flat tire to try to slow me down, I need to quickly slip that shoe back on and walk in peace, not being deterred by the momentary inconvenience. Just like writing down a running list of gratitude, thanking God for the many gifts He showers on me was the act of seeing how He loves me and has brought joy into my life, I will take up the daily practice of putting the armor of God on daily, hourly, minute by minute, knowing this act of faith can take me to my desired destination, where not only joy is found abundantly, but also love, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control.